So I know I can't hear you all, but you can give me thumbs up if you can hear me. Can everyone hear me? Wonderful, wonderful. So we'll wait 5-10 seconds. I think we have everyone on. I'm going through about 70 or 80 people. Thumbs up again. I've gone through the screen. Everyone, wonderful. The technology hasn't failed us. Well, thanks to all the players for tuning in, and then obviously as well, thanks to Shane O'Neill for sharing his time with us. It's a really great opportunity for us to learn from someone who's had a really, really interesting career already, and so hopefully we'll take on board all the advice he has for us today. Shane, here is some of Seattle Celtic. What do you think so far?
Yeah, great turnout. This is awesome. I'm ready for all your questions.
Quality. And as I said to players yesterday, that I emailed everyone who had sent in a question, and so we'll turn to you throughout the Q&A to see if you want to ask your question. If you don't want to do it, I could ask on your behalf. And then if anyone has a question they want to ask, you would just message it to Oisin, and then towards the end, if we have a little bit of time, he'll give you the floor. So if you have any questions that from what Shane says, you kind of think of a few follow-on questions, by all means do that. And then like I spoke with Shane yesterday, seeing if he wanted the questions, but he kind of just wanted to roll with the punches. So we'll see how that goes. Should be interesting. Shane, question number 1. Your ultimate five-a-side team. If you had a five-a-side team, your ultimate team, and you're allowed one former player. You can pick the formation of your choice.
Wow.
Who's in the team?
That's a tough question. One former player?
One former player, Max.
Okay, one former player is Zidane for sure. He's playing in the midfield. I suppose you got to go Sergio Ramos in the back.
Okay.
And that's a tough one. Let's see, Sergio Ramos. I'm gonna have to take Mbappe, Zidane, obviously Messi, and
do you have a keeper? Do you have a keeper, or are you gonna play with no keeper?
Oh wow! If we're doing keeper, I suppose I gotta take. I can't take De Gea anymore. You know, he seems to have lost a little bit, so I'm gonna say Ederson.
Ederson and goal. All right, be interesting to see what the players think. And so yeah, obviously and Osha, I don't know if there's a bit of background noise if you want to. Oh, that's how we go.
There we go.
Perfect. Yeah, there's a bit of background noise. Interesting. I'd have to agree with Zidane for sure. Beyond that, probably mostly be Everton players, but that's another story. So I thought like it'd be interesting, Shane, really for everyone to hear the journey you've had as a soccer player. But prior to that, I thought we'd kind of like to hear like your earliest soccer memory or your earliest memory on the field.
Yeah, so I remember when I was younger, I used to play up because my older brother was 2 years older than me, and so my dad coached the team, and he didn't want us, you know. I have 6 siblings in my family, so he didn't want to be taking us all over for training. So me and my brother were on the same team, and I was, 7 or 8, obviously playing with kids a lot bigger and stronger than me. But it was just great competing with my older brother and having my dad as the coach. So I think that was some of my earliest memories. And obviously, with my dad coming over from Ireland, we always were watching the English Premier League on Fox Soccer Channel as it was back in the day.
Yeah.
And that kind of sparked my love of the game. And obviously from there kind of took it into middle school, but didn't get super, super serious until I'd say high school. And that's kind of when things started to kind of come together for me. But yeah, my earliest memories would definitely be playing with my brother, a couple of years older than me.
Probably. And then really your journey, that kind of like from being a youth soccer player to how you've arrived at the Sounders here in 2020.
Yeah, so I guess in high school I started to kind of develop quite well as a player. How it was in my family is obviously both my parents being Irish, once school finished, we would go back to Ireland for the summer and then come back as school was starting up again. And I think when I was 16 and I was starting to train with some of the Irish teams in the summer, I started to get a feel for like, okay, you know, I'm capable of playing maybe at a higher level. And then my senior year of high school, I got a scholarship to go to the University of Virginia. And so that was kind of the plan. But as I started to just really progress, after I finished high school, the team from my hometown, the Colorado Rapids, offered me a contract. So I decided to skip school and just go pro right out of high school.
Is that a tough decision, or what did your folks think about that decision?
Yeah, my mom wasn't too happy about it, but it was a really tough decision. It was a really tough decision because Virginia is a really good soccer school. You know, they offered me a deal where if I just went for even one semester, I could go back whenever I wanted to finish my degree and stuff like that. Where it was like, but my you know, in my heart, like I just wanted to play. Like there was no getting around that. So I signed with my hometown team. I played there for 4 years, and then I got transferred to a club in Belgium, and so I played in Belgium for a little bit, played a little bit in England, and then played 2 years in the Netherlands. And yeah, after 3 years in Europe, I came back to Orlando City, played in MLS again for another 18 months, and then this past off season, I just signed with the Sounders.
And as I said, I think in the Instagram post, all by the age of 26. It's almost feels like it could have been two careers. The amount you've done. You'd like to think there's 10 more years at least.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I want to play the game as long as I can. You know, I love playing. I love the game. I love watching the game. So yeah, I mean, obviously, you have to have a bit of luck in this game. You got to stay injury free. Yeah, you got to have a team that wants you. So all are, you know, things that I think a lot of people don't see oftentimes, but you definitely need a little bit of luck to stay in the game. So it's been a good journey so far, but yeah, hopefully some years to come for sure.
Quality. Well, we have the first player question, and Isaac Chang has the question. I don't know, Oisin, if you have to unmute Isaac, but Isaac, I guess, has just turned 8. I know he's on our B2012 green team. Isaac, are you with us? Are you ready to ask your question?
Yeah.
Great stuff. Fire away.
Okay. Hi, I'm Isaac, and this is my question. When did you make your debut for professional soccer, and what do you remember from it?
Good question. I made my debut in 2012, and I kind of two debuts. We actually had a friendly against Swansea with the Rapids. They were over on a summer tour, and that was kind of my debut. But in a real game, I remember getting subbed on in the 86th minute against FC Dallas in 2012 in July, I think. And I don't even know if I touched the ball. It was such a blur. At that point, I was a midfielder. Now I play central defender. So, but yeah, it was pretty special to come on in the game.
Quality. One of our questions later in the interview, but it makes sense to ask it now, was, have you been a defender all your life? And I guess you've obviously, yeah, since your career, you've probably played tons of spots. Like, I mean, what can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so it's actually it's tough to reckon with sometimes, but all my life I was a forward all my life, and I didn't play academy until my junior year of high school. And when I was in high school, they still allowed you to play multiple sports, so it was really nice that I didn't really because I played basketball as well in high school. And so my junior year of academy, I joined the Rapids, and I was, like I said, I always was a forward, never another consideration even. And my first 6 months, I scored 0 goals, and I didn't even come close to scoring a goal. I did, as I raised the level and I got to a tougher competition, I wasn't good enough at understanding the game and understanding how to create chances for myself. because when I was younger, I was just bigger, faster, stronger than everybody else. So I was scoring a ton of goals. But as the competition raised, I needed to develop my game. So, my midway through my junior year of high school, I mean, this is when I'm 17. The coaches came to me and were like, "I think you need to play as a number 8, number 10 or number 8, and you need to make runs into the box. And I think you'll be a lot more effective." And so the next 6 months were really solid, but nothing spectacular. And then my senior year of high school, I scored, I think, 20 something goals from midfield in the academy, just took off. And because I had the instinct to score goals, but I didn't understand when I made the step and level how to create space and all those types of things. So it was actually, I got signed as a midfielder, which is the irony. So I went from forward to midfielder, and then how I became a defender was first, I would say 8 or 9 months as a pro, I was always midfield, never really never even a question about it. Yeah. And as the under-20 World Cup was approaching, a couple defenders got injured. And so the coach of the under-20 national team at the time was like, "Listen, I think, you definitely would step right into the center back line, and we need center backs." So that's kind of how it all began. And, so I went and played under 20s as a center back, and I came back to the Rapids, and they were like, "Well, the World Cup's in the summer, so we're going to keep you there for a couple months, but don't worry, you'll go back." And I'm sitting here 8 or 9 years later, and I still haven't gone back. So I don't know what happened.
That is gas. It's just kind of, yeah, it's very interesting to think, like, a lot of points there, like the point about, you've played soccer all your life. You're a striker. That's your position. And then suddenly, age 17, you're suddenly realizing, whoa, I have to kind of reinvent myself a little bit as a midfielder and then subsequently as a defender. And I'm sure if the call came to go to the World Cup and they said, "You're going to be goalie," you'd have been like, "Fine, yeah, going to the World Cup." But it is just the ability to adapt. I think our players could really take a lot from that, we had a question from Ava. Is Ava on with us? Yes, she's not here. Ava's question, Shane, was related to it, and it was like, in the FIFA Under-20 World Cup, which team was the most intimidating to go up against and why?
Ghana, for sure.
Ghana.
Without a doubt. Yeah, they were so athletic. It was unbelievable. And it was a must-win game because we lost the first game. We drew the second game, so we had to win. And they just took us apart. So it was a really tough game. France had a lot of good players, but I feel like when you play against really good players, they play really nicely, but when you get the ball back, they almost allow you to kind of play as well. So there's a kind of a rhythm to the game. But with Ghana, they were just relentless and so athletic and so direct that it was just a very tough game to play in.
Yeah.
We lost 4-1.
You scored, I think. I saw on
I did score, but yeah.
And then, like, the best player you've played with and against, and I don't know, the against question, I have to imagine, might have come from that tournament, but might be wrong.
That's a tough question. The best player I played against, honestly, it was the toughest player I've ever played against was a guy. So we were playing with the U.S. under-23 team, and we were playing against Brazil's under-23 team in an Olympic qualifiers friendly warm-up kind of a game. And they had this player called Anderson Talisca. He was playing for Benfica at the time, and he was just spectacular. I mean, he was unbelievable. But I think he ended up going to Besiktas, and then he went to China. So he never really played for a club that you'd be watching all the time. Yeah. But he was untouchable. I mean, he was so good. I think they beat us 4-0. And, he was just a real problem to play against. And as for played with, I'd have to probably say Nani. He played for Man United for quite a few years, and he was just you could just tell he was a world-class player in his day. Even though he might have had lost a little bit of pace, he was still so good.
Scored plenty of goals against Everton over the years, so no love lost there. Another question, Shane, is like, how do you compare like a typical week as a professional soccer player in the US with that of a player in Europe?
It's a lot different. It's a lot different, I would say. In the Netherlands, they do an incredible job of developing players, and so they look at everybody on the team and they think, okay, this is your weakness, this is your weakness, this is your weakness. So we're going to work on these things. And so how it is in the Netherlands is a lot of times it would be like Monday, Tuesday, and sometimes even Wednesday, and we would have a game on Friday. You would have practice in the morning like normal. You'd have a gym session afterwards, kind of like normal. But then you'd go back onto the field at like 2:30, 3 o'clock to work on these little technical skills that you maybe weren't as good at. And it was just so foreign to me. In the US, you go to practice and that's it. You go home. It's a pretty great lifestyle, honestly. When you're in the Netherlands, it's a proper 9 to 5 job, and it is extremely taxing. And if you're obviously going there, I had no idea. Like 2 sessions a day in the normal season was completely foreign to me. But it was an amazing experience, and honestly, I wished I could have spent more time there, because I think my development as a player was so big in that period.
Fascinating. Like, and then like compare the typical week with like the typical week for the last 3 months. Like, what's your last 3 months been like? Unlike anything I'm sure you've ever experienced.
Yeah, so the first couple months of quarantine were obviously extremely challenging, because you were just trying to do stuff on your own, home workouts, going for runs, touching the ball a little bit when you could. And then the last couple of weeks, we've been able to train as a team, which has been really, really nice. There's obviously some differences. At first, we couldn't train fully together. We had to, do small groups. But yeah, now obviously that we're back fully, it's just such a blessing, because you realize in those moments like how much the game means to you, and definitely was missing the game quite a bit.
Absolutely. So we have another question from a player. We're hoping this player's on. Preston, are you on? Are you ready to ask a question? I think he is. Quality. All right, Preston, hit it.
Knowing what you now know about talent needed to play at the elite level, what skills or mastery would you recommend youth players strive to achieve?
It's a great question. Listen, I have thought long and hard about that throughout my career. I'll tell you that much. I think it's kind of a cliche. But it is so true when you look back. I mean, there is just no substitute for putting in work, and putting in extra work, and working on your first touch, and working on your passing, working on your technical skills of the game. I mean, the one thing I would say is, if you have a dream or a desire to play soccer in college or in the pros, it's a really long journey, and you don't want to get bogged down in individual disappointments or frustrations. So if you just start to work on your game consistently, day in, day out, in the long run, you're going to develop so much as a player. And yeah, there's just no substitute for kind of putting in the hard work.
We say it all the time. I've said to Shane, but it's just put the time in. No substitute. There's no shortcuts. Another question from Tyler and Odin Haberly. I think you're here, folks. Tyler and Odin.
Yeah, they're here.
Great
hey
stuff.
guys, what's your question?
My name's Tyler, and what does it feel like to play in a huge stadium full of fans?
It is, I would say it's one of the best feelings there is, walking out like in a CenturyLink Stadium. I remember always coming here when I played for Orlando or with the Colorado Rapids, and it was always like the best place to play. And so for me, playing with the Sounders now and having played a couple games early in the season here, it's such an amazing feeling, standing in the locker room and as you're walking out onto the field. It's just an amazing experience.
Right. Another question from Eli Trumbull. Eli.
What's your other favorite sport other than soccer?
I grew up in a very sporting family. So I love a lot of sports. And I would have to say basketball and tennis were probably my two other favorite sports.
Who's your favorite basketball team? Supersonics, yeah.
I was a Dirk Nowitzki fan, so the Mavericks, I guess.
Okay, Jack Conway. Jack, are you here? Jack has a kind of a question related to other sports.
I'm Jack, and my question is, did you ever play Gaelic football?
So I dabbled a little bit. My dad won 2 All-Ireland medals back in Ireland, and my uncle won a few All-Irelands as well. So they kind of, every time we'd go back in the summer, we played a little bit. And I played with the Denver Gales. There was the Denver team. But it was just so tough because when I would go back to Ireland, I always wanted to jump in with the soccer clubs back there. So it was always my focus. But I watched a ton of Gaelic football growing up and still do. So it's a great sport.
Well, the Seattle Gales would love to have you out. Like we, the Irish coaches, we always have the coach. So if you have a good bit of free time, Shane, you can turn up to Magnuson and play for the Seattle Gales. They'll take you. One thing we've done with some of our coaches is we had a favorite soccer memories series whereby we asked the coaches their favorite memory as a player, as a fan, and as a coach. Now, I know you might not have a ton as a coach so far, but as a player and a fan, are there like favorite memories that stick out?
For sure, yeah. My first year in the Netherlands, we had to win a promotion, it was like a promotion relegation playoff, and it was 2 legs. And we won, and that was definitely the best moment of my career. It was unbelievable. Like, it was just so unbelievable because it was a small club in a little village in the Netherlands, but it was the passion and the intensity of the supporters there was unbelievable. And so when we won, it was just, oh my goodness, it was crazy. That was just a lovely experience. That's definitely probably right up there with my favorite soccer experience. Honestly, yeah, there's so many. It's tough to kind of go through them all, but that's probably the tip of the iceberg, I would say. As a fan, that's tough. I'd probably have to say when Chelsea won the Champions League, when Drogba scored that header. I think Robin missed a penalty in extra time, and that was just because I had been a fan since I was so young that it was just kind of like this. I think it was my senior year of high school. It was like accumulation of my fanhood as I was kind of like transitioning into being a young adult. So that was really cool. Because I do remember the other Champions League final against Manchester United. My mom took me out of school that day so I could watch it. And I remember John Terry slipping, and I was devastated because I was quite a bit younger that time. So
it couldn't happen to a nicer man, John Terry. I think the whole world. I think there's about 150 million hits on that video on YouTube, just from fans of every other Premier League club watching it. But but anyway, it was nice that you got to win a few years later. I think Bayern won it 2 years then after that. What was I going to say? And then I guess you don't have any experiences as a coach yet, but looking beyond, looking 15 years from now, is it something that you'd like to stay in the game? Would you see yourself coaching or commentating or being involved in the game when the playing career wraps up?
Absolutely. I mean, obviously, I take it day by day because you never know what's going to happen. But I mean, I love the game, and I've worked on my coaching badges, so I've got my first round done. I don't know if I want to be a coach, a pro coach. I mean, it's such a huge commitment, but at the same time, there is a part of me that is kind of, I see it every day. I've seen some really good coaches. I've seen some really tougher coaches, and so there's philosophies that I think would be really cool to try and implement. And I love just working with younger players and trying to develop and help them, because obviously I know how difficult it can be with the ups and downs of your career. And I think that's probably what I'm most passionate about, is just having conversations with younger players and trying to help them on their pathway to kind of developing into the player they want to be, because it's so difficult and you need like some proper guidance.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. I saw a few text messages coming up on screen. Can you coach for Celtic, Shane? So there's always a job once the playing career ends. Like Jacob Seltzer wants you on his team, right? On the subject, I guess, of coaches, then, like, obviously, other than Brian Schmetzer, who's been your favorite coach in your career, and why, I guess, as well.
Yeah. So I would say that my first coach was a guy called Oscar Pareja, and he was kind of like a father figure to me. He was a Colombian guy, really intense, so intense, and he expected 120% out of me every single day. Every training session was like life or death, but I just felt like I never wanted to let him down. I felt like, his big thing was express yourself, always express yourself and have personality. And so I felt like I really played freely under him. And that's kind of when I had like I had a breakout year that year. And that was the year, I got in with the full national team and stuff like that. And it was just unfortunate because I only got to play a year and a half with him, and then he left for Dallas. So that was a huge kind of unfortunate moment in my career, because I felt like I was really starting to hit a high point with this coach who really believed in me. And then honestly, James O'Connor, he's an Irish guy. He was the coach at Orlando City. He just valued team culture so highly, and being a good teammate and being honest and being open with one another. And it was a real pleasure to work with him, because his understanding of soccer was really high. And yeah, there's a lot. Been really lucky to have quite a few good coaching experiences. A couple really tough ones, but that's par for the course.
Yeah. What was it like? To be called up? I guess it would have been the Klinsmann time where you were called up to the full squad. What was that like as an experience? Like, I mean, age 20, I think I read you were, but I might be wrong on that.
Yeah, so it was just unfortunate because there was 2 years in a row where I got called up with the national team, and the first year I didn't know what to expect. I wasn't ready, and I think there was actually a real opportunity there. But when you're making such a big leap in standard, you have to really be ready for it, not only physically but mentally and emotionally and everything. And I wasn't prepared enough. And so then the next season, when I knew kind of what it took, that was the bigger disappointment, because I felt like I know what to expect here. It's going to be so demanding, because Klinsmann was just so demanding. You have to be physically fit, all the rest of it. And it was a little bit of a letdown, but I was so young that I can't really have any regrets, because like I said, it takes guidance, it takes people helping you along the way, and to play for the national team is obviously extremely challenging.
Absolutely. We have, I guess, a question from Perry and Isaac. And it kind of relates to that, like, just in terms of Perry, Isaac, are you on?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to ask Shane?
What was one piece of advice you wish you had listened to when you were young?
Wow, that's a good question. I think a big one is like playing for, not in a selfish way, but play because you love the game. Play for yourself almost. Play for your own standard. Don't worry about the coach. Don't worry about impressing, your parents, or whoever. Like, you have to play for yourself, and you set your own standard, and trying to be better than you were yesterday is the most important thing. Because I think, when you're starting to play because you want to impress the coach or you want to impress somebody else, or you're not really, I feel like the game kind of leaves you a little unfulfilled. So I think it's really important to have that love of the game, and just always kind of have that in the back of your mind. Like, I'm doing this because I want to enjoy this. I really want to enjoy every time I step on the pitch.
So, Declan Erdl. Declan, question similar-ish to Perry and Isaac's.
Hi, my name is Declan, and my question is, what kept you motivated every day?
What keeps you motivated, I guess.
It changes. I think when I was younger, I was so motivated by having big success, and I wanted to play in the Premier League, and I thought it was, I thought I definitely had the possibility to do it. And then you get setbacks, and then you kind of figure, it changes. And I think now what really motivates me is, like I just talked about, I think just kind of going back to when I was younger, like playing freely and playing and believing in yourself every time you go onto the field. I think that's what motivates me, is every day trying to step on the field and not only just try my hardest, because that's something you can control, but just being brave and being able to try things that are maybe a little bit risky, because at the end of the day, sometimes you have to take risks to achieve things that you want to achieve. So I think that's what motivates me now, is just being being 120% every single day.
Could you speak, I guess, to the sacrifices you've had to make this your number one priority? Obviously it needs to be.
Yeah, I think there's a ton of sacrifices in the game in general. I think it's not, you don't always see that, but obviously, you especially if you want to play at the professional level, you don't get to spend as much time with your family or your friends, and every single day it matters. You have to recover after practice, you have to eat well, you have to sleep well, and your whole kind of day revolves around this thing, but you only practice for maybe 2 hours in the morning. So it's kind of it kind of feels strange, but I think it's always worth it when you go out with that mindset of believing in yourself. It's always worth it. I think it's sometimes it's tough to look at yourself in the mirror when you let yourself down mentally or don't try 100%, because there are so many sacrifices. So I think that's why it's so important to go 100% every day.
Right. Question kind of with dealing with adversity. Kira, do you want to ask your question?
Yeah. Has it been hard not to practice around your teammates and coach?
Definitely. Yeah, it was very challenging. But there's always little things that you can work on. I think for me, I was able to do a lot of like yoga and stretching, which I usually don't ever do because I don't really have the energy for it. So that was something I could work on, and that helps a lot with soccer as well. So it was difficult, but there was also some benefits came out of it.
Cool. We've just a few more questions, Shane, but just want to say thank you so much. We're recording this as well, so we'll be able to put it up on social media, and all our players will be able to watch and learn from everything. But it is fascinating to hear from someone who has just achieved what you have in the game, really. And one question I'm kind of interested in hearing the answer to is like the favorite goal. Obviously, you were a striker in your youth career, but like, what's the favorite goal you ever scored, and then also the favorite goal you've ever witnessed in person?
Favorite goal? Honestly, my favorite goal was probably in high school, because my junior year of high school, there was 2 high schools in the city where I went to, And in my junior year, we lost in the state quarterfinals to the rival. And my senior year, we were playing them in the league, and I scored a very, very nice goal from outside the box. So that was probably my favorite goal I ever scored because it felt like such redemption.
Any footage? Any footage of it exist anywhere?
I need to get my hands on some footage. I've never asked, honestly. I'm sure there is somewhere. And then the other one was just my first year in Europe was really challenging between going on loan 2 times and just didn't have a good season. And then my second year, when I went to the Netherlands on my debut, I scored. And that was definitely a huge moment for me just to kind of start believing in myself again. And then favorite goal I ever witnessed. Wow. I suppose it would probably have to be when we scored in the promotion final. That in the first, like, because we were getting absolutely peppered for 85 minutes, and we scored late on in the game. So it was a
In
great.
Holland for Breda?
Yeah, it was a great feeling.
Class. So Landon and Kendall, if you want to ask your question, and then Oisin, maybe you have a few questions that people have messaged in. We'll just go for a few more of those. But Landon, Kendall, are you guys here?
Yes.
Cool. Do you want to ask your question? You can ask it together if you want.
Our question is, what's your favorite thing about Seattle?
Oh, great question. I love Seattle. Seattle's awesome. I love how green it is and how there's so many things to do outside. That's my favorite thing. The Green Lake and the mountains, all the trails. It's a great city.
Great answer. Yeah, I came to Seattle first in 2001, age 15. Green Lake was where we arrived. My uncle was living here. And yeah, straight away I was like, I'm moving here. As soon as I'm old enough, moving here. Moved over when I was 18, 19 and never left, But Green Lake is what did it for me. Oisin says kind of most of the questions people have sent in, Shane, have kind of been asked, really. So that's it. I mean, if you want to take everyone off mute, I don't know if that's possible, but like if they want to all say thank you together to Shane. But this has been great. We haven't interviewed a professional soccer player on the show before, Shane, or at the club, and so thank you so much for just sharing your time, and yeah, folks, if you can't, if you're all mute, but maybe I'll give Shane a thumbs up as a token of your appreciation and quality.
Thanks, guys. That was fun.
Cool, Shane. We'll invite you out to a game when we're back playing. Maybe we'll see you down in Magnuson. If you're out running or training, you can swing by. Obviously, you can't high five the players anymore, but you can give them a virtual.
Absolutely.
High five. Well, quality. Thanks very much, boss. And yeah, we'll hopefully see you at CenturyLink.
Perfect.
In the next few months.
Yeah, that was great stuff, guys. So good luck, and we'll talk to you soon.
Quality. See you later. Bye,
Take care,
everyone.
guys.